Etsy. Established in 2005 by Robert Kalin, Chris McGuire, and Chaim Shopik, the company was introduced as a platform for small businesses and artists to sell their products to a wider audience. Praised for its unique tools that helped smaller sellers get more exposure, it quickly found its footing and began to grow. By 2008, Etsy was seen as a strong competitor in the online retail space, especially after a large group of eBay sellers went on strike that year for various issues, including significant fee hikes. Remember this for later. 14 years later, Etsy is finding itself in the same position eBay had found itself in back in 2008, with the threat of a mass exodus and strike looming over them. But why are so many creators, including myself, planning on leaving? I started my shop in 2011, but really, I didn't do much with it until the pandemic began in 2020. Like so many others, I found myself out of work and without a lot of options as a creative person. Etsy became a safe haven for so many of us, but over the past couple of years, the issues with the platform have progressively built up, finally hitting a breaking point for many sellers. I want to take a few minutes and explain why, as of the posting of this video, my own personal Etsy shop is now on vacation mode, and I have zero intentions of turning the lights back on. One of the things I've consistently said regarding Etsy is that it's significantly easier to gain traction on the website than it would be otherwise. You're trying to be found in a pond versus an ocean. Being a person who creates handmade items on the internet, selling them is a difficult thing to do successfully. When you are first getting started, being found is the hardest hill to climb. Enter Etsy. People know that when you're looking for handmade goods, it's a safe place to go. When I originally started selling properly, I had zero social media presence. Nobody knew who I was, but because of keywords and SEO, search engine optimization, people were able to find my shop through Etsy and learn about me. I slowly began to build a brand. One of the things I've noticed myself missing since beginning my move off of Etsy is they handle so much of the overwhelming, intimidating backend for you. There are easy to read analytics and built-in ways to set up your listings, and a lot of the stress of building from the ground up is eliminated because the platform can just do it for you. Okay, done being nice, let's move on. Let's talk about the Star Seller program and why its implementation is not beneficial for the platform. Editor Josh, can you just put in a graphic describing our feelings on the Star Seller program? The Etsy algorithm pushes your shop based on a few key factors: SEO, keywords, and reviews. When this program was introduced, there were no clear explanations as to how this would impact the way listings and shops were found. The program gave some sellers a special badge. Etsy claimed that they wouldn't prioritize shops given this badge over others, but then spent weeks emailing shoppers all about how having the badge meant that a seller was trustworthy and effectively more deserving of your hard-earned dollars than others. What buyers didn't know is that now a single missed message, a single bad review, can rip the badge away from the sellers it was given to. I'll provide an example by telling you my experience with the program. I first earned my Star Seller badge in November of 2021 and was super excited. It felt like I was being recognized by Etsy for all of my hard work. But 1 month later, my grandmother passed away. Due to the circumstances, I obviously wasn't actively checking my Etsy every day. I sent one late reply to a message, which bumped my percentage from a threshold of 95% to 87%, therefore immediately removing the badge from my shop. Over one message that sat in my inbox for 32 hours. It took me until March to get the badge back because it takes 3 months for a missed message to fall off your report. So even though I had 100% on shipping and 100% on reviews, one message meant I was no longer worthy of my badge, that the company had again spent so much time telling its shoppers that that's how you trust people here. Which conveniently leads me to my next point. Why do we shop on Etsy? We shop on the platform to hopefully find items that are made by small shops and sellers who are hand-making unique items. While it's easy for customers to find your products, it's just as easy for them to hop from your shop to someone else's, and with increasing regularity, thus making the platform extremely competitive. Also, to be a shop on Etsy, you supposedly should only be selling handmade or vintage items and craft supplies. But it's doing a piss poor job of shutting down shops or removing listings that clearly do not fall within these categories. Some people may wonder why this is such a massive issue. So again, let me use my own experiences as an example. I make dice. Is it fair for my handcrafted dice to be listed next to a set of mass-produced dice made in a factory? A factory that can produce a set for less than $1? Sure, handmade sets will always be a different quality to mass-manufactured dice, and most of my customers understand that. But when you're listing mass-manufactured items on a website that buyers are told should only have handmade products, it only ends up sending harassment towards the other sellers who do make handmade products. Some buyers will see these mass-produced dice being sold at a significantly lower cost and wonder why an artist making handcrafted dice can't do the same. Also, it is unethical for a buyer to be tricked into buying a product that is mass-manufactured thinking that they are supporting a small business. Another issue I have is I would like to list my merch on my Etsy as well, but according to Etsy's bylaws, this is not allowed. And that's fine. If it's a rule, I'll follow it. But when others are doing this anyway and not getting flagged for it, it shows how some sellers are given more leeway than others. One of the best ways to encourage repeat business is to have an identity. I want my customers to connect to what I do and my story. Granted, I did not intend my story to be baby dice, but I digress. The disappointing reality is that most buyers on Etsy don't pay attention to the shop they bought their item from. Etsy has the identity. You have no way of truly customizing your shop to be laid out in a way that might better flatter your items and products. You don't have a good way to display your story and encourage your customers to connect with you. You get a banner and a shop that is laid out the same as thousands of others, which ultimately can make you invisible. Let's be frank for a moment. Etsy is a company at the end of the day, and any shop hosted by the platform is ultimately beholden to its rules and standards. If they decide your products don't meet their standards or that you've towed out of line, they have the power to shut you down permanently, and there really isn't anything you can do about it. All of your hard work can be lost in an instant. You have to make sure that what you make or sell isn't on the list of prohibited items or services, and your account can also be suspended or even terminated without much notice if you violate copyright laws, sell manufactured items, or try to avoid their fees, and we will get to those. Effectively, Etsy is a landlord, and you are their tenant. The landlord is refusing to tell you all of the rules behind your leasing agreement, so you're constantly living in fear of being evicted for something you didn't know wasn't allowed. Let's talk about pricing for just a minute. Earlier, I mentioned that Etsy prioritizes 3 major articles in its algorithm. Well, I left out one more, which is especially hidden from consumers: free shipping. When searching through Etsy, the listings that offer free shipping are shown in the front of the rest, because for some reason the algorithm really cares about that. So as a seller, you're stuck with really 2 options, and both of them kind of suck. You have to either eat the cost of shipping and take the loss, or you raise your prices so that free shipping isn't really free. In addition to all of that, because there is just so much competition on the platform, sellers are kind of regularly forced to reduce their prices to attract new customers, especially in some of the more saturated crafts. I see it constantly in candle making, soap making, even dice making. This makes it harder for you to earn a profit and hurts these communities as a whole, forcing makers to undercharge for their hours of hard work. A lot of these artisan skills are difficult to master and do well, and people deserve to be paid for what they're worth. It's one of the hardest lessons to learn as a craftsperson, and Etsy is sort of accidentally discouraging people from doing so. While we're talking pricing, let's talk about the ads and why the ad program can eat a The offsite ads program is supposed to bring new eyes to the platform by placing advertisements for your products on major sites like Google, Facebook, Instagram, and others. If a customer clicks on an ad that features your product and then buys from you within 30 days, you are charged for that advertisement. This charge is between 12 and 15% of the total purchase, depending on your annual revenue, in addition to all of the other fees that Etsy charges. And the biggest issue with this program, when it initially rolled out, they required all sellers with over 10,000 in annual sales to participate. There was no way to opt out of the program, and the best you could do was lower the amount you were willing to spend on daily ads. And why do I know this? Because for all of 2021, I was stuck in the offsite ads program. I was forced to pay Etsy $1 a day because that was the minimum amount I could lower it to for an entire year. And I'm sure, like most people, you would think, oh, well, at least you would have made sales from that, right? No, I paid Etsy $365. Shoppers clicked on my ads 324 times, and 0 of those clicks translated to purchases. Look, I'm all for advertising if it works, but this program just doesn't. I feel like I've avoided the elephant in the room for as long as I can, so let's talk about the fees. There's gonna be a lot of numbers in this section, so I'm gonna suffer through all of the math myself and simplify it as much as possible. Technically, it costs $0 to have a shop, but there is also a subscription plan which costs $10 a month if you want it, and it gives you some extra customization options, some credits for ads, and 15 listing credits as well. But no matter what, there are other hidden fees that are tacked on throughout. First, there is a transaction fee on every sale that you make. Etsy currently charges 5%, which is supposed to cover the cost of using the platform. When I say 5%, it means the total price, including any customization options or gift wrapping. In the US and Canada, the fee doesn't charge a percentage of sales tax unless you build that into the price. Although, today, April 12th, they will be increasing that percentage to 6.5%. But I'm going to do the math for both percentages so that you can understand why that extra 1.5% is far more significant than it sounds. Next, there is a shipping fee of 5% of the total cost your customers pay for shipping. And lastly, a 20-cent listing fee per listing point, which lasts for 6 months before you need to pay the 20 cents again to renew it. So let's take these numbers and run an example. I list a set of dice for $100 and someone purchases them. The person purchasing it is getting it as a gift and would like them to be gift wrapped, so there's an extra $5 charge. Next, let's say I charge a flat $5 for shipping. That $5 would be included in the price of the item if I wanted to have free shipping, but I'm using paid shipping to show how many ways Etsy has found to charge their sellers, which would bring the total for the buyer to $110. Etsy would take 20 cents plus 5% of the 105 and then another 5% of the $5 shipping for a grand total of $6.75. But like I said, that fee is increasing from 5% to 6.5%. So with the new fees, it would total to $7.28. Now, let's say it costs me $10 of materials to make the item. I then need to pay myself for my time to make the dice. So let's say $50, and then shipping materials cost $8. My shop is left with a profit of just over $25. Despite what the general idea of running your own business seems to be, the shop and myself are separate. The shop needs to have its own funds to run, while I need to pay myself in order to buy normal human things like food and stickers. Now, what would I make outside of Etsy? Let's say I decide to move my products to Squarespace instead. I pay $480 a year to have the full e-commerce plan, which upfront sounds like a lot, but there are 0 additional fees that I have to pay to the platform that hosts my website. I do have to pay a transaction fee to Stripe, which processes credit card transactions, and that fee is 2.9% plus 30 cents. So to give you an idea of how massive the difference in fees really is, in 2021, I paid Etsy $1,508 in fees, while Squarespace sat happily at the $480 mark, plus Stripe's small transaction fees. And with Etsy starting to increase their fees, that number will rise exponentially. It makes 0 sense to be paying more than triple to sell on Etsy versus my personal website, especially since at the beginning of this year, 87% of my customers came from me advertising myself, and only 13% came from Etsy pushing my shop. And this brings us full circle back to the beginning of this video. Most people, while frustrated, were willing to keep paying the 5% fee. I was one of them, but the 1.5% fee increase, in addition to all of the other things I've talked about, has just been the straw that broke the camel's back. As of yesterday, April 11th, many Etsy sellers have gone on strike. I am one of those sellers. We have put our shops into vacation mode until April 18th, although I personally do not plan on ever taking my Etsy out of vacation mode. I do want to iterate. I'm incredibly privileged to be able to do this. I have my own website now. I have a bit of a following that I can bring to my shop on my own. Not every Etsy seller can do that. I do not stand with the sellers bullying other shops who have decided not to participate in the strike, because for a lot of people, this is their livelihood and they cannot feasibly go a full week with shutting their shops down. It's just incredibly rude and disrespectful to shame the shops that can't join the strike. All that being said, if you come across a shop that is actively striking on Etsy, check their bios and shop announcements to see if they sell on their own platforms. I highly encourage you to check out these artists and purchase from them off of Etsy. Support the creators that you love in the ways that best benefit them. So, if you are a seller and you have been here listening to me rant for what feels like ages, I'm sure at least a few of you are wondering what you can do. Is it worth it to leave the nest and go solo? I can only give advice or tips based on my own experience, so I'll do my best. There are plenty of alternatives to Etsy if you want to build up your own platform. I know several artists who use Ko-fi or Shopify, and I've heard good things about both of them. Personally, I use Squarespace to host my shop. Not sponsored, but if you could share this video, maybe we could make that happen. Am I fishing? I'm totally fishing. I do pay more than the basic plan, so I can avoid a lot of the extra fees, like I said before. But honestly, my first bit of advice would be to wait. Don't abandon your boat before your life raft is built. Make sure that your new page is set up with your products and laid out in a way that is conducive to your customer base. Second bit of advice, understand your niche and your market that you fall in. I hate the concept of niches, but let's be real. They are what can get people into the door of your shop and help them fall in love with all the other amazing things that you make or do. I mean, why do you think I've made so many baby dice? If you've been running your Etsy for a while, you probably know what customers like about you and have a good idea what your niche is. Keep that in mind while you're building your new shop. Lastly, generating clicks for your shop is one of the most important things. Clicks are its lifeblood, which means, deep breath, social media is kind of key. A year ago, I didn't have near the platform I have now, and I couldn't have left Etsy. The scales swung wildly in Etsy's favor. Keeping your customers and fans apprised of all the things you do is so important, and social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and even YouTube are great ways to put yourself out there and have your shop seen by a wider audience. I know I have rambled quite a bit in this video. I think I've needed to get this out of my system for a while, honestly. The idea of leaving Etsy and truly being on my own has been completely terrifying. I am scared that I will put my eggs in that basket and fall flat on my face. But I'm gonna do it anyway. Not just because Etsy is a giant bag of dicks that I can't stand anymore, but mostly because it's time. I am the bird who is ready to leave the nest, and I might have a bit of a crooked wing right now, but it'll heal, and I'll get there eventually. I wanna thank you for hearing me out. I encourage you to share this video with as many people as possible. I'm not trying to use this video to grow my platform, and I will not be doing the usual YouTuber outro for this. If I end up being able to monetize videos on my channel soon, I will turn off monetization for this video. My only motive for this video is to make sure this message is heard by as many people as possible and teach people about the realities of Etsy and why so many sellers are so angry. I do want to quickly thank my patrons for making this video possible. Thank you again, and I will see you in the next one, Blue 6.